What is it, do you think, about your game that has people just can't wait to see you on the professional level?
I think it's just the style of basketball that I play. To be honest, I don't get nervous for games because I just know this is fun for me.
Today, there's no surprise that the Indiana Fever looked best tonight when the offense was ran through Caitlyn Clark. There's no surprise that the offense looked best tonight when we pushed the ball off of a make, pushed the ball off of a miss. There's no surprise that the Indiana Fever looked best tonight when Caitlyn Clark was surrounded by players that don't have an ego, surrounded by players that said, I'm gonna be MVP of the WNBA this year. You see how easy it is when you just let Caitlyn play ball and others follow suit?
So today, lads, we're going to talk a little bit about the fourth quarter, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how the Atlanta Dream, in my opinion, just had no answer for Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever in that fourth quarter. And realistically, for quite a bit of the second half, they had no answer for an aggressive Caitlyn Clark.
Tonight, we witnessed a game that redefined what it means to be a star in the WNBA. Caitlyn Clark, ranked as the 9th best point guard in the league, took to the court with something to prove. The Atlanta Dream thought they had the perfect defensive strategy, but what they didn't expect was a player capable of completely changing the game. From the very start, the Dream coach had prepared for everything: double teams, full court pressure, trapping. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could stop Caitlyn Clark. In the first half, the Dream managed to slow her down. But as soon as the second half began, Clark was a different player. She dominated the floor, controlling the tempo, creating plays, and making her teammates better. And the best part? She didn't even need to score big to prove her point. Despite her shooting struggles, Clark orchestrated the Fever's offense with the precision of a master conductor, leaving the Dream coach speechless. Coaches across the league are still trying to figure out how to stop her, but after this game, one thing's for sure: Caitlyn Clark is more than just a rookie sensation. She's the future of the WNBA. Stay tuned as we break down how Clark completely dismantled the Dream and sent a message to the entire league. Caitlyn Clark's performance in the Indiana Fever's 99-82 victory over the Atlanta Dream wasn't just another win. It was an unforgettable statement that has already begun reverberating through the entire WNBA. For coaches and fans alike, it was a powerful reminder of just how much Clark can influence the game when given the freedom to do what she does best: dominate the floor. The Dream entered the game with a strong sense of purpose, having studied Clark's every move and developed detailed defensive schemes designed to slow her down. They had analyzed her college career, her transition to the WNBA, and figured they had enough strategies to handle the presumed 9th best point guard in the league. However, what they hadn't prepared for was the fact that Clark, when allowed to operate without restrictions, could do far more than just shoot the ball. She could control the game in ways most players could only dream of. In the first half, the Dream did manage to limit Clark's scoring somewhat, but even then, she was still heavily involved in every aspect of the game, contributing 5 assists in just the first half. The Dream had managed to neutralize her offensive output, but they were already starting to show cracks in their defense. They simply couldn't stop her from orchestrating the Fever's offense, controlling the tempo, and making every player around her better. But that was only the beginning. As the second half unfolded, the true scope of Caitlyn Clark's impact became clear. It was a tale of two halves, one where the Dream was hanging in there, barely keeping up with the Fever, and another where Clark completely took over, turning what had been a competitive game into a decisive victory. The turning point came when Fever head coach Stephanie White made the crucial decision to allow Clark to play her natural game, a fast-paced, free-flowing style that had made her a household name at Iowa. For much of the season, White had tried to fit Clark into a more structured, methodical system that wasn't suited for her unique skill set. This approach had frustrated Clark at times, as she was forced to stand in the corner while other players brought the ball up the court, limiting her ability to dictate the flow of the game. But against the Dream, White finally let Clark be Clark. She was given the ball in transition, allowed to run the offense, and empowered to make decisions as she saw fit. The result was nothing short of spectacular. Clark became an unstoppable force, pushing the pace of the game and constantly keeping the Dream on their heels. With every dribble, she controlled the tempo, using her size, skill, and vision to break down the defense. Even when her shots weren't falling, she found ways to impact the game, creating easy opportunities for her teammates and making crucial plays when the Fever needed them most. The Dream's defensive schemes, which had been so carefully prepared for in the days leading up to the game, were rendered useless as Clark took full control. The Dream coaching staff had spent hours designing their game plan to double-team Clark, to pressure her full court, to trap her into making mistakes. They probably had strategies in place to contain her every move, to stifle her creativity. Yet, when the game was on the line, they found themselves powerless against her. Clark's impact wasn't just on the stat sheet, it was on the entire game's emotional flow. She had a way of shifting momentum, always stepping up when the Dream thought they were making a run. Each time they tried to close the gap, Clark found a way to break their spirit. Her 9 assists, her leadership, her basketball IQ, everything about her game was designed to ensure the Fever stayed in control. It wasn't just about scoring points or racking up assists. Clark knew when to take over the game and when to make the right pass, when to push the pace and when to slow it down. This kind of leadership, this level of composure, is what separates the truly elite players from the rest of the pack. And even though Clark had been battling a series of injuries, dealing with a quad injury and a groin issue, she never once used those as an excuse. Instead, she used them as fuel to push herself harder, to elevate her game in ways that no one else could. The Dream coach, who had been so confident in his team's defensive game plan, was left with no answers. His team had been systematically dismantled by a player who, according to the rankings, wasn't even considered a top 5 point guard in the league. The cognitive dissonance was almost palpable. Here was a player who had dominated in college, transitioned seamlessly to the WNBA, and now, in her rookie season, was already being called one of the most influential players in the game. But still, her ranking as the 9th best point guard in the league was hard for many to comprehend. Coaches had spent sleepless nights preparing for her, altering their entire defensive philosophy to contain her. Yet when it mattered most, when the lights were brightest, it was they who were left looking foolish. And the irony of the situation was impossible to ignore. The coaches who had so carefully crafted their plans to stop Clark were the same ones who dismissed her as just another player, just another rookie. They failed to see what was right in front of them, the future of the WNBA. As the game wore on and the scoreboard ticked higher and higher in the Fever's favor, the Dream realized they were facing something that had eluded them, a player who could do it all, who could score, pass, defend, and control the game with a level of skill and maturity that most players could only dream of. It wasn't just Clark's performance that was special, it was the way she made everyone around her better. Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and even Sophie Cunningham found their opportunities multiplied simply because Clark was on the court. Her ability to create open looks, to break down defenses, and to make the right decision at the right time was what truly made her so dangerous. As the game came to a close, and the Dream coach was left to reflect on the loss, it became clear that this wasn't just an isolated incident. Caitlyn Clark had proven once again that she is more than just a good player. She's a game changer, and if any coach in the WNBA still doubts her, they will find themselves on the wrong end of a lopsided scoreboard sooner rather than later. The message to the rest of the league is clear. Caitlyn Clark isn't just surviving at the WNBA level, she's thriving. She's not just adapting, she's redefining the game. Every time she steps on the floor, she gets better, and every time her opponents think they've figured her out, she unveils something new. The coaches who continue to rank her as the 9th best point guard in the league are only setting themselves up for failure. Caitlyn Clark is here, and she's only going to get better. The Dream coach learned that the hard way, but he won't be the last one left speechless by the phenomenon that is Caitlyn Clark. And as the Fever continue to build around her, one thing is clear: the WNBA is Caitlyn Clark's league now, and everyone else is just trying to catch up.